All right, hey everybody, how you doing? Techie 101 here, and betting has now officially opened for tonight's fight. Oh, and let me tell you, we got a good one, ladies and gentlemen. We have Sentomaru versus Admiral Kizaru. All right, so the betting is now open. If anybody wanted, yes, you, sir, right there, 100 on Kizaru. All right, we could do that, 100 on Kizaru. Yes, you, also 100 on Kizaru. All right, 500 on Kizaru, and I was like, 1,000 on Kizaru, 10,000 on Kizaru. Wow, big spender. Hey, you know, Sentomaru's here too, guys. I'm just letting you know the way that this is going. If Sentomaru actually wins this fight and you bet on him, massive payout. Massive payout. Yes, you, sir. Yeah, 10,000 on Kizaru again. Okay, great. 100,000, a million on Kizaru. My God, I'm telling you what, man. Sentomaru, here's something you didn't consider. Sentomaru has an axe. Yeah, he actually has a weapon in this fight. Kizaru has no weapons whatsoever. The only weapon he has is his impeccably tailored and pressed suit. Also a Logia and a tremendous amount of hockey. But beyond that, he has no weapons. And Sentomaru has an actual axe that he uses for a weapon. Did I also mention Sentomaru is a sumo wrestler? Anybody on Sentomaru? Any money? Okay, you know what? I'll do it. I'll bet all this random amount of monies. I will bet right now on Sentomaru. Hey, Barry, can you put like 500 on Kizaru? Okay, thanks, buddy. Barry's, he's the one that handles the real money. I'm only allowed to handle Monopoly money now, so, yeah. All right, hey everybody, Techie 101 here, and welcome back to the reviews. It's been a little while here, and it's going to be a little while after this because we're going to have another break. But don't be sad, because there's a lot of One Piece stuff coming down the pipeline right now. We got the new chapter right now, but then today is August 30th. Tomorrow is August 31st, which is the grand world premiere on Netflix of the One Piece live-action series, and the initial reception from it and the buzz going on. There was a screening in LA yesterday or the day before, and my God, the reception was pretty damn positive, okay? There's some clips that have been released I put up on my Twitter. I have not seen the first episode or anything like that, but from everything that I've seen and heard, it seems to be pretty good and effectively break the curse of really bad live-action anime adaptations. So I can't wait for the premiere, and I'm going to be doing episode-by-episode reviews of the entire series, the first 8 episodes of Season 1, and I hope it gets a Season 2 if it does really well. So we got that going on, a lot of stuff happening. But today we have Chapter 1091 titled Sentomaru. Actually, Sentomaru's name in Japanese, his name's actually written in kanji. I think one actually the first characters in One Piece to actually have their whole name written in kanji, and it just translates to Battle Peach Boy. So this will be One Piece Chapter 1091 titled Battle Peach Boy. It's a playoff of Momotaro. Also, Kintaro is somebody that is like various folklore legends of Japan that Sentomaru is based off of here. But this is his chapter, damn it. Cover page this week, we just have the Straw Hats eating pizza. Eating pizza with a bunch of flamingos. Not Doflamingo, although there was that one scene in the flashback with the Doflamingo family, and what were they eating? Pizza. By the way, side note, I love the way Oda draws pizza. He draws a lot of food to look really good, but I love pizza. The way he draws it is just like a giant glob of just melted dough and cheese, and just shoving it. It's more liquid than it is a solid, but it looks so good. It's like quadruple, quintuple cheese on this pizza, all right? Oh, it looks so good. All right. But no, we gotta get serious, ladies and gentlemen. There's some serious stuff going on here. All right. Admiral Kizaru has begun the incursion, sir. Get ready to attack. The sea beasts are launching. The pacifista are firing their lasers. All right. Egghead Island, the battle is underway. We've moved from siege to full-on battle, okay? So the pacifista Mark IIIs, they were all positioned kind of at the shore, ready to just open bombardment if Kizaru were to just fire and launch into the island, which he has done. He attacks Sentomaru, and so the pacifista Mark IIIs are down. They're just unloading on the Marine fleet, as well as all the mechanized sea beasts are also attacking, and Marines are kind of freaking out. We see some of the sea beasts we've already seen before. We see the mechanized lion. There was a hippo. There's a new one, which is a mechanized sea mouse. So it's a mouse in the sea that's now a cyborg that has a giant drill for its nose. That's actually really clever. I like that thing. If there's any of the sea beasts that survived, I want that one to survive. The sea mouse, okay? All right, but a big chunk of the ships, the fleet is getting wrecked because, you know, we saw those sea beasts as the Straw Hats were approaching, and I think maybe a lot of people might have just wrote those things off because, you know, we saw the sea monsters during Fishman Island, and they weren't really much of a threat. And, you know, the Straw Hats are the Straw Hats, so, you know, Luffy and Zoro, Sanji, Frankie, Brook, you know, they could have all taken care of a sea beast or two. I think it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but, you know, when you have a massive marine fleet, 100 ships of varying class, some of them are huge galleons and giant warships, others are more just support vessels. I mean, you have a giant lion the size of a freaking, you know, like 10-story building that's robotic and can fire lasers. It's just gonna pick up that boat and just thrash it around and then throw it down. You got a mouse with a drill for a nose, for God's sake, all right? So these sea monsters are doing a fair amount of damage. But also keep in mind, the Vice Admirals are also there. So we have Vice Admiral Jowls. He's the dude that has multiple chins. And also, he doesn't fight with his jowls, unfortunately. He does not have the jowl fruit. I mean, maybe he does. He fights with a giant mechanical arm. He has a technique called Steam Knuckle. And it's actually very similar, and I've seen other people comparing it to Zephyr's arm from Film Z. So are we literally like, okay, so we don't get Zed or Zephyr here in the canon, but we do have Vice Admiral Jowls that has his arm, okay? It looks remarkably similar. So he just goes in and takes this giant mechanical arm that's like steampunk, and, you know, steam is billowing off of it, and it's just, I imagine it has like a ripcord, like a lawnmower. It's just like, it's all right, everybody. Vice Admiral Jowls is here to save the day. Hold on a second, I haven't used this thing in a while, it takes a little while. There we go. And then he's, boom, punches a giant mechanized sea hippo. So the sea hippo has been dealt with, that's not great. And then we have Doll launching into the fray. Doll just skips right over all the sea beasts. She makes it to the shore and just high jump kicks one of the Pacifista Mark IIIs right in the face, knocks one of its teeth out, and just like, BAM! So yeah, Doll doesn't need a devil fruit power. Her thing is, she runs in and just kicks things in the face. You go, Doll. You go, Doll. Her stock is rising. Hey, anybody would put any money on Doll? We'll scrap Sentomaru. Doll versus Kizaru. Let's get the money. Now the money's coming in. All right. That's how it goes. All right, so it's a war zone right now at the shore, okay? The Vice Admirals are beginning to land on the actual island, while the remainder of the Marines, like the actual soldiers and everybody, are dealing with the sea monsters, firing cannons, and, like, keeping them at bay in the water, okay? So now we're cutting back to the Labophase, where Usopp, they have the telecoms back up and running now, so the Den Den Mushi, so the Straw Hats can watch what's happening at the shore. The surveillance network is back. So Usopp is watching this, and he's like, holy crap, guys, there's a full-scale war going on down there. This is insane. We gotta get out of here, okay? And so, you know, Vegapunk is there, the Stella, the main body Vegapunk, and he's still trying to crack the code. He's like, yeah, it's okay, Usopp. You know, we have the structure, the hierarchy of the Pacifistas. Right now, Sentomaru is in control of all of them, and then so he's going to order them to attack the Marines if Kizaru arrived on the island. All right. So our defenses are nigh impenetrable. Well, I mean, he says the defenses are nigh impenetrable, but then we'll later go on. Like, Vegapunk is aware of Kizaru's Devil Fruit. Vegapunk is fully aware that Kizaru could just enter the lab phase through the Frontier Dome whenever he wants using the power of the Pika Pika no Mi, okay? So, nigh impenetrable, whatever. So, Usopp, Nami, and Brook are looking at the Den Den Mushi screen, and they're starting to have flashbacks of their own, because remember Sabaody? I think the Straw Hats all remember Sabaody. Honestly, the Straw Hats would probably look at Sabaody as their worst hour, you know, the worst time of their lives, where their journey just came to an abrupt halt, and if it wasn't for Kuma sending them off to different directions, if it was just Kizaru there, and if Rayleigh wasn't there to help, yeah, they could have all died right there, or at the very, like, you know, worst case scenario, died, best case, they would have gotten captured and thrown in Impel Down, or executed, or something like that, right? So, in that regard, maybe being just taken out by Kizaru right then and there might have been preferable, right? So, they have some memories of that moment, okay? I guess Jinbei doesn't really, although Jinbei was at Marineford, so he's dealt with Kizaru as well before, but all of the, you know, the 9 Straw Hats that were at Sabaody, they're fully aware of that moment, okay? And, they're like, yeah, I don't know, man, this is gonna be rough, okay? Now, Vegapunk, meanwhile, is being very, I mean, he's working on the code, but he also feels really bad. He's just like, oh, Sentomaru Quasar, I know that's not really my catchphrase, but I need to say it in order to get into the Vegapunk voice. Quasar, Sentomaru, I wish you the best. I'm sorry I had to call you on your day off to do all this stuff to fight an admiral. Please don't die, you know? So he's like, hey, just buy as much time as you can. We gotta figure out this code, okay? So now we cut back to Sentomaru versus Kizaru. And, you know what? Okay, Sentomaru is doing, like, better than you would think, right? Like, Sentomaru is aware of Kizaru's ability. He's got hockey of his own, you know? He knew he was coming. So, Kizaru, I guess that initial attack where he uses the Ashigari Dokoi to, like, block it, that did work. And now we cut to another attack where we have another speed of light kick from Kizaru that hits Sentomaru. He kind of blocks it, but still gets knocked out into the side of a building. Like, you gotta, like, I don't know how much Oda is being realistic here with, like, inertia and physics and, I don't know, torque. I don't know physics either. Does torque apply here? Maybe it does. I don't know. Anyway, I just like to say it. Torque. It's a fun word. Okay. Well, you know, even if Sentomaru's hockey was on the level where it would be able to, like, get no damage from the initial impact, these are still kicks that are happening at the speed of light. So you'd think, like, aha, my hockey will block you. You think the shockwave enough would be like enough to knock you into the next county? You know what I mean? Yeah, so Sentomaru gets kicked in through a wall, and Kizaru's not busting a sweat here, you know what I mean? He's not there. He's just like, oh, Sentomaru, this is a really difficult fight. Now, he busts out the Yasakani no Magatama, the Sacred Jewel, so it's basically just a laser bombardment on Sentomaru. He's running. He's like, God, I'm not giving up. I'm not, you know, I'm here. I'm Vegapunk's bodyguard. I'm not going to give it up. You know, I'm never going to give him up. You know, and he's like, hey, he's dedicated to his job. His job is to protect Vegapunk against anybody, even if that's the Marines or the world government or even Kizaru himself. He's like, I'm not going to stop. And Kizaru is just like, oh, yes, Sentomaru, why are you palling around with pirates now? You're like the Straw Hats. He's like, hey, the Straw Hats are trying to save old man Vegapunk. You're trying to kill him. You're here to assassinate him, Kizaru. I know why you're here. I don't want to fight you. I'm sure you don't want to fight me, but you know what? That's how it goes. And so Sentomaru's avoiding the lasers. He grabs his axe, and he's just like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna cut you right in half, Uncle Kizaru. All right. So he goes up, and I'm sure he's charging up the axe with hockey. I'm sure Sentomaru's not that stupid to like, I'm just gonna swing my axe at you. But remember, it's kind of like that scene at Marineford when Whitebeard took Murakumo Giri, charged that up with hockey, and ran Aokiji through with it. Aokiji's a Logia, so one thing that Logias can do, yeah, if that hits them directly, they're gonna feel it. But, you know, their bodies are malleable, and in fact, Kizaru's body is probably the most malleable out of any Logia, because he's literally just made a damn photons. He's made a light, and that's it. So he can literally disassemble himself at like a particle level at that point. So, you know, when Aokiji was about to get run through with Murakumo Giri, all he had to do was just mold his body so there was a big hole where Murakumo Giri went. So even though Whitebeard was using hockey, he's not stabbing anything. He's just stabbing the air. Kind of something similar with this, where even if Sentomaru is charging up all the hockey he's got in that axe, he swings it, Kizaru can always just... Also, at the speed of light, he can disassemble. He's like a better Buggy. He's like Buggy, except he can disassemble at the particle level at the speed of light. All right, so you're not hitting this dude. That's like one of the big issues with Kizaru. He just moves too fast. I mean, the lasers can be dealt with, you know, the sword thing, but at the end of the day, he can move at the speed of light. All right, so yeah. Anywho, you're gonna need like anime protagonist power to deal with him, and I'm sorry, Sentomaru, you're no anime protagonist, okay? I mean, there was even already a parallel to Momotaro in this story with Momonosuke, so whatever. So anyway, he goes to swing the axe, Kizaru avoids it like effortlessly, and we get a little bit of his backstory, Sentomaru and Kizaru's backstory, honestly. So we got this in the SBS in the last one, you know, volume 106, I believe it was, and we get the backstory. I even made a video about this like last week. Sentomaru originated on an island in the Grand Line. He was in a village, but he was kind of rambunctious. He would always go around the village and just eat all the food. So they eventually kicked him out into the mountains. This was like a logging village, like a logging camp. They kicked him out into the mountains. There was a bunch of bears in the mountains, like these giant berserker bears that were like attacking the villagers. And so Vegapunk one time, he was passing through with Kizaru there, and I'm not really sure why Kizaru was with him. Maybe Kizaru was his bodyguard at the time, or maybe it was a special assignment. This was when Kizaru was in his younger years. I don't even know if he was a vice admiral yet at this time. This is like the youngest we've seen Kizaru, really. This might have been actually right after he joined the Marines, honestly. So Vegapunk goes by, and he's just like, oh, hello there, you know, do you need anything? Do you need any science that can help you? And they're like, well, you know, we have these giant bears in the mountains that are coming down and attacking us. If you want to deal with that, that'd be swell. And so Vegapunk's like, oh boy, Quasar, all right, well, let's go up in the mountains, Kizaru, and see what's going on with these bears. So he goes up there, and they encounter Ragnar, the king of the bears. No, not yet. They encounter Sentomaru there, sumo wrestling. He's a child at this point, just knocking out all these giant bears. And these bears are like huge. They're way bigger than grizzlies, way bigger than polar bears in our world. Giant ass bears, and Sentomaru's just knocking them out like no big deal, right? And so Vegapunk's just like, yes, okay, hello there, young man. Would you like to be my bodyguard? You know, what to do with you? And so, you know, he's like, they kicked me out of the town, and I just want, you know, I just want a job, old man. He's basically just like, hey, are you hiring? Are you hiring? I just need a job. I'm really tough, and I don't get hungry or anything. And then Vegapunk's like, just like, okay, well, why do you want the money if you don't eat? And then, you know, Sentomaru's immediately like, he does get hungry, and he's like, onigiri, I want some onigiri. And so Vegapunk's like, yes, okay, I will pay you an onigiri. Let's go. That's his favorite food that was mentioned by Oda. Also, his other favorite food is sweet potatoes, like yams. I'm a big fan of sweet potatoes, at least in fried form. So yeah, there you go, Sentomaru. Kizaru is there in his younger days, and he's just laughing at the whole ordeal, like, oh, a little kid fighting bears in the middle of the mountains. Oh, this is hilarious. And he wants to be paid in money just to buy rice balls. Oh, that's a hoot. I hope I don't have to fight you in Mortal Kombat someday. And then Sentomaru's like, oh, I hope I don't either. That would be unfortunate. Yes, it would be. Anyway, let's go. Okay. In the next Mortal Kombat game, if they had to include one of the admirals in the game, which one would you want to play as in Mortal Kombat? I'm trying to think. Because a lot of, like, Kizaru would be cheap as hell in that game, you know, just like, you know, speed of light, speed of light, speed of light. Who would be really good, like a real gruesome, like, brutal finisher, like, fatality maneuver in that game? Oh, man, like, Akainu probably. I would probably go with Akainu, because Akainu would have, like, a fatality where he, like, grabs the opponent's head and then just slowly boils their entire flesh off and then rips off their skull and then crushes it and then just, like, turns into a volcano and erupts. So I'd probably go with Akainu in that game. Green Bull would also have some applications. Green Bull would, like, grab somebody, drain them all of their nutrients, and then just shove them in the soil. That would be something. All right, anyway. So Kizaru, now back to the present, is just like, yes, back in the day, you were so adorable, Sentomaru. Those were the days, I say, when we were just, like, you know, with Vegapunk, and we were his, you know, bodyguards. I like to think Kizaru was probably his bodyguard at the time. Maybe not in, like, an official status. Maybe the Marines kind of were just like, hey, we have this new guy, this scientist named Vegapunk. He needs somebody, he needs, like, a Marine escort. So, Kizaru, you want to go do it? And Kizaru's like, sure. And then eventually Kizaru began to rise through the ranks, and so he ended up becoming a vice admiral and then an admiral, doing his own thing. So in lieu of an official bodyguard, it was Kizaru, but then Sentomaru became the official bodyguard, and we will know the story from there. So at the time, though, Sentomaru, after he joined up with Vegapunk, is like, hey, he goes up to Kizaru in the younger years, and he's just like, hey, yeah, Vegapunk wants me to be his bodyguard. I don't really know how to do that, so can you show me how to be a bodyguard, you know, Uncle Kizaru? And Kizaru's like, don't call me Uncle. I'm not that old. And he's just like, okay, well, can you show me how to be a bodyguard? He's like, okay. And so Kizaru actually taught Sentomaru how to, like, that ultimate defense and everything. That's probably inspired from Kizaru teaching him how to use hockey and everything like that, right? Because I don't think he used hockey against the Bears. I think he was just ridiculously strong. His whole thing is based off of, like, Kintaro and Momotaro. The Momotaro more for, like, the naming scheme name. Kintaro, I think, more for like the actual appearance, like the apron and the rope that's tied around him, and everything like that, and the Tomoe pattern and everything. That's in sumo. That's Kintaro. Okay, so yeah, like kid growing up out in the mountains, that's like ridiculously strong. Ashigara Palm is one of his techniques. That's the name of the mountain connected to that kind of folklore there with Kintaro. So the axe didn't work, so he uses Ashigara Palm. That doesn't work. I mean, like, honestly, with most of these techs, well, okay, Ashigara Palm does hit Kizaru in the face. He does manage to hit him in the face, but then he just kind of, like, zips up into the air and then fires a giant laser explosion. So, even if you hit Kizaru, he could just use that to his advantage and just be like, all right, I'm just gonna use the momentum from getting struck to, like, zip back and then just bombard you. Like, he could end this fight kind of whenever he wants. You get the impression when Kizaru fights, right? He's like, you say you have the ultimate defense, but, my guard is nothing to sneeze at either. It's just like, yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it really does feel like when Kizaru is fighting against somebody, not even somebody normal, like, Sentomaru has his chops on him, you know what I mean? He knows how to fight, okay? He was kicking Luffy's ass pre-time skip, all right? But whenever Kizaru fights against, like, anybody other than, like, the top-level characters in this story, it's like he's got the god cheat on, It's like he's literally breaking the system with his power, his devil fruit, all right? So he launches a laser, Sentomaru gets hit by that point blank, he goes down, fight's over. So congratulations, everybody that bet on Kizaru gets a payout, I guess. I don't know. So now that, of course, Sentomaru is down, Kizaru pulls out the authority chip for the pacifistas out of his pocket that they have, because all Marines have that. I guess Vegapunk up in the Labosphere has no method of deactivating those chips. Once again, seems like a little bit of an oversight. You think you would want to have a code to like, okay, let me just throw this in an example here, okay? What if a pirate, like what if Blackbeard kills a Marine, takes the authority chip? Don't you think in those kind of circumstances, because it seems like these chips, maybe they're directly encoded to a certain person and like they only work for that person, maybe. That might be the thing. Like this one that Kizaru has will only work for Kizaru. The one Lucci had will only work for Lucci. Maybe that's how it works. But if it's a thing where just like anybody that has this thing can just speak into it and just the pacifistas listen no matter what, that's a design flaw if you can't just like, like change the security protocols around or anything. Well, whatever. Since Sentomaru's down, Kizaru's like, hello there, pacifistas. Well, the previous issuer of the commands is now unconscious and unable to move, so authority's been transferred to me now. I would appreciate it if you stopped bombarding all of the marine vessels and instead target all of the sea beasts instead. Please and thank you. And so that's pretty much what Kizaru does, and the Pacifista Mark IIIs, they listen, so now they're on the Marine side. I mean, I guess if, like, one of the Vegapunks comes down and gives them an order, then that's the hierarchy again. But they can't issue orders over Denden Mushi. That was already stated. So, like, Lilith or Edison or Atlas or one of the Vegapunks would have to come down and directly give the order to the Pacifistas. Once again, wait a second, hold on. There's a lot of this that doesn't make any sense. Okay, hold on. Okay, so Kizaru is issuing orders to every single Pacifista Mark III at once. And he's giving those orders through an authority chip. The authority chip is giving out like a signal, like a radio wave or something. And all of the Pacifistas are like receiving the wave and is like understood. So if the authority chip sends out this wave and they're up in the Labosphere right now, the Vegapunks, they have... they have surveillance back up on the island. They have, like, telecommunications equipment up and running. So maybe the Frontier Dome gets in the way of this, but, if radio waves are the way to control the Pacifista, why can't, Atlas is working on the code and just Kizaru took control of the Pacifistas, give me a second. Pacifistas, don't ignore Kizaru and just listen to me, just continue to attack the Marine ships. Okay, I'm a Vegapunk, I'm a higher order than him, okay, bye. Radio waves, understood, Atlas, why can't that work? You know, the Seraphim, it was different with the Seraphim because, like, the Cypher Pole Zero were, like, directly in front of the Seraphim. Like, when they were issuing the orders, it was like they were right there. But the Pacifistas, there's like 50 of them that are scattered all over the island, and they're all obeying Kizaru at the same time, which means radio waves are involved, which means there should be a way, unless the Frontier Dome gets in the way of that, but I can't imagine why it would if they have telecommunications up. You know, they can see what's happening all over the island. They can do radio communications, so I don't know. It's a little weird there. Anyway, so the Pacifistas, though, they begin to turn on the sea beast and they begin to launch laser bombardment. They take out, I think, one of the sea leopards, and so the directive has been changed. We cut over to St. J. Garcia, who's still on the ship, and he's just there, and he's listening to everything, and he's like, all right, I guess we will have to give up the sea beasts. I guess it's unfortunate that we're losing the sea monsters because they're trying to protect as much tech as they can. They're not trying to get rid of all of it. So they're like, all right, well, if it's a choice between the Pacifista Mark IIIs and a couple of mechanized sea monsters, I guess we'll go with the Pacifista Mark IIIs. You know, we can reverse engineer them or something like that, right? So the sea monsters are being destroyed. Usopp is watching on the screen in the Labosphere, and he's like, guys, Sentomaru's defeated! Are you sure? Yeah, he's smoking and covered in ash, so I'm assuming yes. Alright, so Sentomaru's probably not dead, you know, obviously Kizaru's not gonna straight up kill Sentomaru, but took him out for the, you know, probably the remainder of the arc. Although, who knows, you know, from what happened with Ashura Doji, I thought he survived too. He's like, oh, he just took an explosion, he'll be fine. Sentomaru just took a laser shot right to the face, he'll be fine. Now, he might be dead, who knows at this point in the story. Okay, so, at this point, Vegapunk and Atlas and Edison are working really, really hard. It's like, oh no, Sentomaru's down. We have to crack the code! Overdrive hacking montage! And York's just in the background laughing like, ha ha ha, you'll never crack the code. You don't understand. I'm a Vegapunk as well, so I came up with the code, and you can't break it. It's like, well, you're just one Vegapunk, York, and now we have 3 Vegapunks, including the original. So we're good, all right. So, yeah, with that being said, Vegapunk now brings up, like, by the way, Quasar, yeah, Kizaru could probably enter the Frontier Dome. He could pass through that whenever he wants. And they're like, what? Like, seriously? He's like, yeah, he's made a light. The lasers aren't going to stop him. I'm like, that's not good. So, Kizaru does not waste any time here. He gives the order to the Pacifistas, and then he looks up at the sky, and he's like, oh, the Straw Hats, huh? Wow, that really brings back memories. Okay. Zip, and then just goes right up to the Labosphere. All right, that's just as easy as that for him. So in the meantime, we cut back to Luffy, Bonnie, Frankie, and Lilith's group, where they are getting Vega Force 1, picking up the Sunny, and then moving it to the other side of the island for the evac, okay? So thank God they did that, because Kizaru now arrives in the same location that, like, Cypher Pole arrived earlier. You know how, like, when Cypher Pole first arrived at the Frontier Dome, Kaku was right there and they tried to destroy the Sunny? So Kizaru probably would have done the same thing. Like, if Kizaru arrived there and the Sunny and Vega Force were right there in front of him, he would have been like, oh, okay, zip, zap, and then just blow up both of them. But they're not there, they got moved. So he's like, the Power Station, Punk Records, and York. These are the things I need to protect above all costs. I wish I could add old friends to the list, Sentomaru. But I'm just doing my job. I'm an admiral after all, right? So, Luffy's there on the Sunny, Bonnie and Frankie are there, they're eating. Lilith is the one, she's back in her, like, gear with her helmet and her goggles that we first saw Lilith in and her giant jacket, and she's in Vega Force actually commanding it. Luffy's there eating, and he's eating, but he's, like, eating aggressively. He's like, there's somebody here. There's a big fight coming. I can feel it. Gotta fill up my tank. You know, so he's eating. He's waiting for it, right? So Kizaru arrives at the top. He looks pretty serious. I mean, as serious as Kizaru can look. He's like, and Dr. Vegapunk's elimination is our top priority. Yes. Okay, so meanwhile, we're now cutting back to the command center where there's Vegapunk tapping away, and the other Straw Hats are there. Stussy glances over and sees Hattori, the pigeon. I knew it was the pigeon! No. So the pigeon begins to fly away. So from this perspective, Stussy's like standing right next to Vegapunk. She's there kind of in thought, just kind of thinking about stuff. She hears a sound, she turns, she sees Hattori flying away, and he's like, wait, what? Oh no, and then Lucci moves with Soru to go stab the Stella with Shigan. And Stussy jumps like, no! Ah, right in the boob. Wait, did she get hit? Hold on. Where did she get stabbed? No, not in the boob. It was in the stomach. It was in the stomach. Sorry. Not my stomach! Ah! So, Stussy gets hit in the breadbasket. That's not good. And she goes down, alright? So, damn it, I was hoping Stussy was gonna do some cool shit in this arc. Well, she's down now with a puncture wound in her stomach. That's not great. So, Vegapunk looks over, and then I love how the Straw Hats, though, like Nami and Usopp are kind of like, what? But Sanji and Zoro are on point with this. They were expecting this. They were like, okay, Cypher Pole is helping us right now, but we don't know how legit they are. We don't know if it's like they're helping us until we get away, or the second something happens, backup arrives, they're gonna switch on us. They don't know. So the second that happens, Sanji instinctively grabs Nami's bubble gun. Nami had like her bubble gun that she was like bubble gun, you know, bubble gun that she was like holding. And so Sanji's like, I'm gonna borrow this really quick, Nami-san. Just like, okay. Fires a bubble immediately at Kaku, who is the mortally injured one on the freaking lab table. And he's just like, what? Huh? What are you doing? And just like, okay, well, just stay put for a while. Maybe they didn't tell you, maybe they didn't clue you in on everything, but stay put for a while. So then Zoro, while Sanji's dealing with Kaku really quick, Zoro takes out his sword, Takis those suckers up, and it just, boom, clashes with Lucci immediately. Lucci raises up his leg. He's not in his leopard form, he's not in his awakening yet, just raises up his leg, probably uses a combination of armament and Tekai on that to block Zoro's swords, and then they get blasted out of the lab into the air, and they're like in the air, and he's just like, you're all good as dead. Now that Kizaru's here fighting alongside me, you won't be able to win this fight. You know, looks like it took you, wait till your Marine friends to show up to finally grow a damn spine. Let's go. All right, Zoro versus Lucci. Let's do that. All right, that's something we haven't seen yet. That sounds like a fun fight. All right, we're gonna carve up that leopard. We're gonna have leopard for dinner tonight, boys. And then the last scene of the chapter is Kizaru approaching Vega Force 1 carrying the Sunny. And he's just like, oh, that's where the ship went. I was wondering why it wasn't at the shore. Okay. And so he's about to like approach Vega Force 1 when boom, Luffy arrives right there in front of Kizaru. He's just like, been a while, Kizaru. And then Luffy just charges right in and then kicks Kizaru. Kizaru kind of like raises up his arm and just kind of like blocks Luffy's kick. And then Luffy's last line is just like, ha, we're 100 times stronger than we were 2 years ago. Let's go, old man. And Kizaru's like, cheeky as ever, I see. All right, end of chapter. Break next week. Okay. I don't know how many breaks, by the way. I don't know. Oda's really busy right now. I don't know if it's just a 1 week break or a 2 week break. I don't know how many breaks, okay? But, that's where we ended out. So, holy crap. I mean, most of the chapter was good. Sentomaru's stuff was fun, but setting up Lucci versus Zoro and Luffy versus Kizaru at the end. Luffy just charged into it, Admiral. I love how Oda is not wasting any time with this. I mean, we almost had this back at Wano. Like if Shanks didn't show up or the Scabbards didn't try to stop them, I mean, Luffy and Zoro and Sanji probably would, Jinbei as well, would have been the ones to confront Green Bull. But now Luffy really has no backup. Frankie and Bonnie and Lilith, they have to get the Sunny and Vega Force 1 to the other side of the island. So they're probably not gonna, I mean, maybe one of them, no. Frankie has to stay with the Sunny above all, and Lilith is the one commanding the robots. So maybe Bonnie, if Bonnie wanted to, she could go and help Luffy fight, but I don't think that's the way it's gonna go. I think this is gonna be Luffy versus Kizaru. We are gonna see how our rubbery protagonist with Gear 5th is gonna hold up against Kizaru, against one of the admirals. I made a video about this. I made a video a while ago after Luffy went Gear 5th to see how he would deal against the admirals. And the one thing I was always worried about is like, Kizaru's fast, man. Kizaru can speed blitz you so damn fast. And the thing about Kizaru also is most of the time he fights, we don't really get the impression that he's like, really exhausting himself, like he's really putting up a sweat. Like he looks like he didn't even really bother with Sentomaru. I mean, he was a little conflicted because he knows Sentomaru. He doesn't want to actually kill him. But you never got the impression in that fight that like Sentomaru is like really driving Kizaru into a corner, like he's getting a one-up on him, and Kizaru's like, oh, kind of winded here. No, you get the impression that Kizaru could just like zip, 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 done, you know, and that's it, right? And so Luffy hits him. You know, Kizaru, I feel, could have dodged this if he wanted to. He's choosing to block the attack, and I mean, like, oh, he's choosing to block the attack. He can move at the speed of light! You know what I mean? So, like, I feel like, okay, he's taking the hit. Maybe he wanted to gauge Luffy and just be like, all right, how strong are you? Okay, that is pretty strong. You're definitely stronger than you were 2 years ago. All right. So, Luffy's going to have to jump almost immediately into Gear 5th on this. Maybe Luffy might try to scale it up, though. He might be like, all right, I never actually tried using Gear 4th against an Admiral, so let's give it a go and see if that works. Gear 4th, Snake Man, let's see what happens. And then it won't work. He might, you know, do something, like kind of whatever, but it's not going to deal a lot of damage. He's like, all right, I got to go Gear 5th. So he goes Gear 5th, and yeah, he might not, like Kizaru, I feel, is way faster than Gear 5th. But could Kizaru hit Luffy? You know, if Kizaru's firing his lasers, Luffy could just use Toon Force to, like, bend his body to, like, avoid the Luffy could, like, hula dance, you know, and, like, avoid the lasers like that. You know, it's like he's, like, hula hooping or something and just dodging all the laser shots. He could do that. There's some fun ways that Luffy could dodge the lasers. Luffy could pull a mirror out of his hair and just, like, reflect the lasers back. A lot of people have actually said this. People say, can't you just beat Kizaru with a mirror? I'm pretty sure that if you fire a strong enough laser at a mirror, I'm pretty sure it would just break the mirror. I don't think, it doesn't matter how strong the laser is, it'll get bounced back no matter what. I don't think that's how it works, but I don't know physics, so let me know. But in Luffy's case, utilizing Toon Force, if he can pull shit out of, like, hammer space, Luffy could just, like, reach into his jacket and pull out a giant mirror and just boing, and then just bounce him right back. That would actually be kind of fun. That would be cool to see. I don't think the fight is going to have a definitive winner, though. I think it might be a thing where Luffy goes Gear 5th, gets a 1-up on Kizaru. Kizaru's like, okay, this is weird. I don't think it's going to result in either Kizaru beating down Luffy definitively or Luffy beating down Kizaru definitively. I think it's going to result in them fighting for a good while so we can gauge where Luffy's at right now. But then eventually he's going to leave and evacuate and maybe distract Kizaru. Kizaru has to go and deal with something else. I don't know. I just don't feel this fight is going to have a definitive 100% conclusion like Luffy just, you know, just took care of an admiral. You know what I mean? Now, as for Lucci, oh man, Lucci, I kind of believed in you, man. I thought you were going to be like, all right, you know what? I didn't think Lucci was going to join the Straw Hats. I didn't think Lucci was like, I'm a good guy now. But I thought Lucci was at least going to be like, you know what? I'm done with the government. I'm done with their bullshit. You know what I mean? You know, they tried to kill me so many times now. You know what? Kaku, after you heal up, let's just get out of here. Let's just leave. I'm not working with you guys, you Straw Hats and Vegapunks anymore. I'm not working with the government. I'm just getting out of here. No, if nothing else, Lucci he's sticking to his guns. So that entire time, all night, Lucci was fighting alongside Luffy with S-Bear, you know, fighting them and everything, the Seraphim, and they were having lunch together. And after a certain point, Lucci's just like, all right, I'm just going to hang out here, and they're not fighting me. They're not chaining me up or anything. They believe me, I guess. So I'm just going to hang out here and wait until backup shows up, and then as soon as Kizaru's here, I'm kicking ass. You know, and so now Kaku, though, might be the one that's like, hey, I had nothing to do with him. He didn't tell me about this. So Kaku was not, like, let in on this. So Kaku might be the one to be like, I'm done with this shit. I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm out of here. You know, but Lucci's dedicated. And you know what? I've brought it up so many times. I've made videos about it. The whole Cypher Pole 9 independent report cover series. Why did they rejoin the government after? You know what? Lucci might have reached a point in his life. Maybe they tried to live on their own. Maybe they tried to live their own kind of life. Maybe Lucci reached a point where he just realized, you know what? I was raised my whole life to be an assassin. It's the only life I've ever known. I can't start over now. You know what I mean? It's what I'm good at. It's what I do. It's easier. It's just easier for me to just do this. I was raised to be a cold-blooded killing machine, and that's what I'm good at. You know, what am I going to do? Go start a bakery? You know? So he's like, you know what? I'm done. Maybe he tried. Maybe Lucci gave it an honest try after the Cypher Pole 9 independent report. They went to an island. He tried to open a bakery, but he just kept stabbing the bread and murdering the customers. And he just couldn't. He's like, you know what? I can't do this. This just isn't for me. I'm an assassin. That's what I do. And I'm going to do that until the day I die. And so that's what Lucci's at right now. It could be that. And if in that case, I'm like, all right, at least he's dedicated to the craft. He's not like, he's like, no, I tried. I'm just doing this. release. Okay, so Zoro versus Lucci is going to be really fun, though. And they looked like they were pushing themselves pretty decently there, and Lucci wasn't even in his released form yet. Not released form, that's more Bleach. But, you know, he wasn't in his awakening yet, okay? So he could get there, and then we could have a whole fight with Zoro going like, you know, nine sword style Ashura, Enma going crazy, and then, you know, I keep saying released form. You know, it's like going into awakening form, Leopard and fighting, and it's like, oh my god, that would be wild. That's going to be fun. All right. Well, anyway, break next week, and we have the release of the Netflix series tomorrow. I'm pretty sure they're going to be released in the batch, like the standard Netflix release. I think if they weren't going to be released in batches, if they were week by week, I feel like I would have read an article by that, you know, by now that would have said that, because it's the standard on Netflix is release them in all at once. So I will have the first review of the first episode out tomorrow. Maybe the second one as well. I don't really know how I'm gonna, because they're releasing them in batches, so, you know, I think some reviewers are gonna watch the whole series, like the whole 8 episodes, and make just one giant super video on it. I don't think I'll be able to do that, but I prefer to go episode by episode. I just don't know the release schedule of these, but I will get the first one out tomorrow. I will watch the first episode pretty much first thing tomorrow, and then get to telling you about my thoughts on it. So we'll see what that goes out tomorrow, and it'll be fun. I hope it breaks the curse for good. I hope all of the initial press is right on that, and I'll give you my honest opinion, and that's how it goes. All right. Well, this will be Techie 101 signing out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Later.